Alright, so the initial step in cooking some chicken here is first get your fire going. Now people use firewood, some people use charcoal. I like to use a little mixture of both. If you can notice, I have the charcoal on top, and then right there at the bottom I have a piece of firewood that gives it a little bit of extra flavor. Key here is to be patient. Turn it on with a charcoal starter and then just give it a couple of minutes. I've been here maybe about 30 minutes and it's barely picking up. It starts off slow and it picks up. But once it's ready to go, we'll go on and go to the next step. Patience. So I've got a pretty decent fire going. One way to get fire going here is actually to open up any of your vents. This would be my vent there. Let some air in, open up the vent up here just to make sure that the air is flowing. But I'm kind of happy with where I'm at right now. I added a couple of pieces of extra firewood in there just for my purpose, because I like the way it's tastes afterwards. You don't have to. Charcoal is perfectly fine. The next thing here is to spread it. All right, so we're just gonna kind of spread it around to try to get about as even as you can of fire, an even fire going throughout the whole barbecue pit. All right, now that you have this one done, you pretty much try to spread it. The next step is to put on the grill. All right, so what I ended up doing is actually I put my grill on about 10 minutes ago. I let the heat kind of start heating up the grill a little bit, the fire. If this is your first cook, you're not gonna have this issue. Your grill is actually gonna be clean. But if you've done at least if you've cooked at least once on it, you're gonna have a lot of this little black stuff on the grill. Now the reason I let it warm up a little bit is because a lot of that is grease from the previous cook. So what you want to do here is, still not ready to put your chicken on here, but what you want to do is you actually, with a grill scratcher, grill scrubber, you can get them anywhere. I mean, I got the most basic one. You actually want to try to knock off some of the grease that's trapped there. Now this does a couple of things to your grill and to your thing. It one, it cleans the top, because that's where your food's gonna go. But two, some of that grease actually falls down, and if you notice that the fire's starting to get a little bit higher, the grease goes down to the fire and it actually helps in heating up your grill a little bit faster. Now what I did here is I should have started from the back, because the fire starts going up and you start burning yourself. So when you do it, start from the back and work your way to the front. See those that black stuff that's there compared to nothing over here? That's kind of what you're looking for. After this is done, you'll notice a little bit more heat coming out, which is good. That's what you want. You want controlled heat. You don't want exaggerated heat. So right now all I'm doing is I'm cleaning it really good, stoking the fire a little bit with the grease, giving it a little bit of life. And then we'll let it heat up a little bit more before we put on our chicken. Now, it's very important to know what type of chicken you have, because if you have these type of chicken legs, it takes a little bit longer to cook. If you have the filleted ones, which are cut in half, just cut in half, it'll take less time to cook. And then if you buy the boneless, where that takes a little bit less time as well. So depending on the chicken that you purchase, that's how long it's actually going to take to cook. What I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to throw it in one of these, take them out of that, throw them in that, and then I'm going to go put them on the grill. But just so you know, for this cook, they're leg quarters, and they're the full leg quarters. They're not filleted. All right, so it kind of looks like we're pretty much ready to go. I mean, it's nice and warm here. First thing you want to do before you start putting your chicken in there is you actually want to close any vents so that the fire doesn't get too out of hand. You want to do this quick, but you want to do it organized. My OCD kicks in a little bit when I'm putting in chicken. I like them all to face the same way. Here's my chicken and that thing I told you guys about. So if you notice, there's some fire going on there. So sometimes good thing to do is to close it, give it a minute, and when you open it back up, most of the fire should have died down. So it's not as bad. So the next thing you want to do is you want to start laying the chicken down. What you want to put them is not this way, but this way, with this part facing the top. So if you notice, the leg is facing on one side, so I like to put all of my chicken, as much as my chicken, facing the same way. So there you go. The sizzling is a good sign. It means that the grill is hot enough and you shouldn't have any problems. So there's my chicken. Now you're not going to get 100% uniformity, but you're going to get the majority of the chicken facing the same way. And this just makes it easier for when you're going to flip it. Makes for a good amount of space here. See, I'm already running low. This one should have been over here. Try to put them in. And the reason you want to do this as quick as possible is because right now is when the fire is at its peak, and any little grease that lands on it will really get to it. See, this is where I start getting into it's not as uniform. My OCD is telling me, no, move it. Try to move it over there. Put that one there. And my OCD is happy because we got all the chicken legs on one side or another. All right. Okay, so we have our chicken here. We're ready to actually start the cooking process. This is the hardest part. You know how they say the waiting is the hardest part? It literally is the waiting. When I first started cooking chicken, I thought I had to be flipping it every 10-15 minutes to try to get a uniform cook through it. But I've learned that actually it's just time and just literally set it and forget it. So what I want to do now is I'm actually going to close the lid. And the next time I touch the chicken, it's to pull it back out. That's it. I'm not going to flip it. I'm not going to do anything. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be monitoring the temperature. All right. So what you typically want to have is you want to have a temperature. I installed a temperature gauge. As you see, as I close it, it's starting to go back up. You want to keep the temperature at about 300 degrees. Okay. Now, I don't want to give you a specific time, but chicken like this usually takes roughly about an hour to an hour and a half to cook. But it all depends on the internal temperature of the chicken. Once we reach the cooked internal temperature of the chicken, you can pull it out. I've had times where I've cooked for an hour and a half and the chicken barely gets to that point. And I've had times where I've cooked for an hour and the chicken is way above the internal temperature of the chicken, where the temperature needs to be for the chicken. So keep an eye. If you have one of these, it's really good so you can know if your grill is hot enough. 275 to 300 is perfect temperature. And also invest in a internal meat probe. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little bit when I start checking the temperature of the chicken. But an internal meat probe takes all the guessing out of it. Okay, so at this time, if you have some yard work to do, if you need to go inside, as long as you come back outside and check the temperature every once in a while, regulate the airflow. If it's too hot, close everything off. If it's not hot enough, you can be opening either your vent here, or you can actually, sometimes if you don't need that much, what you do is you can actually open this up and put something like this in there just to get a little bit of air in there. But as long as you're between 250 to 300, 275 to 300, you should be good. All right, there you go. Don't touch the chicken. Leave it alone. All right, so at this point, I was looking at my probe, my grill temperature probe, and it was telling me it was at about 250. I wanted to get a little bit higher, so what I ended up doing is I ended up opening that thing right there to get a little bit more air in there. I put I don't remember that grill scraper that I had. I put it right there. I opened the lid up just a little bit, and then I opened the top part up there a little bit. That was you can see from here, that's gonna get you a little bit more air in there. You're gonna get a little bit more fire going on the bottom. Just keep an eye on the temperature, that it doesn't go over 300 for the barbecue pit, and you should be good. If it starts to creep up over 300, just close everything off, and it's almost like an oven. It's just waiting. It's hard. Alright, so what we're doing right now is, even though I'm at the temperature I want to be at, I've been about 30 minutes into the cook now. You see smoke coming nice. Have it vented. It's awesome. The thing is that sometimes the grills will create hot pockets. So yes, your temperature will be up at 300 degrees, but is it all evenly distributed? So what I like to do around this time, just for peace of mind, is I like to just open it up, take a sneak peek at what's cooking down there. That looks pretty good, right? Now, you like to kind of like stoke the fire a little bit. You want to move around your fire to make sure that it's evenly being distributed. So I got myself this long piece of wood, and just go in there and move the charcoal around. What this will end up doing is actually it'll bring down any of the ashes on your actual charcoal briquettes, and it'll bring up your fire a little bit, especially if your fire is dying down. I'm moving my pieces of wood. If you notice, there's like this, they breathe fire back into the life back into the fire. Now that it's nice and up, gotta move quick because you don't want it to overcook and burn your meat. And we bring it down, close everything off again. And you're gonna notice, just so you know how hot it probably got in there. We were at hovering at about 290, 295. And with that simple move, you notice how the smoke is starting to come out a little bit more. See, so we pretty much stayed at about 300. But when you do this, you have to move quick. You don't want to be messing around, because you can burn your meat by doing this. You can burn your chicken. Stoking the fire, it's an awesome way to redistribute the heat to make sure that all of your chicken gets cooked thoroughly. And it's, again, just close the lid and just wait. Don't touch it. Don't do anything to it. All right, we've been about an hour into the cook. I'm gonna check to see if our chicken has hit 165, which is the required temperature for chicken to be considered cooked. Have you noticed my temperature has gone down a little bit? Pick it up, open some of this up. Chicken has stayed. What I did is I bought this meat probe, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to be sticking this in. I want to pick possibly one of the thicker pieces of chicken, because if they're done, pretty much means everybody else's is done. So start off with this one. You don't want to hit the bone. You want to go in at an angle but not hitting the bone, and all you do is you just wait. You're looking for that magic number 165. Give it a couple of minutes till it stops climbing. This is the best way to see if your chicken is cooked, because there's no guessing. You know if it's cooked or not. I typically want to have it go up well over 165 just to make sure. But we'll see where it goes. See, like right there, it stalled, went up a little bit. I'm not too comfortable with it at this point. Even if it does go to 165, it's taking too long. Alright, so kind of stalled there. I mean, I'm not gonna, if I go and maybe hit one of the smaller ones, see where that one goes. See how that one started climbing right away to over 165? That tells me that this bigger one still needs a little bit more time. I can start moving some of these smaller ones off to the side. Right, so that one tells me it's cooked. See, anything above, well above 165, you're pretty good. See, that one is a little bit thicker. So if you notice, the temperature's starting to go down a little bit. And if you've also noticed, my fire has gone down a little bit. What I'll do is I'll stoke it one more time. I'm going to start moving the smaller pieces off to the side, leave the bigger pieces still in there, so that it can get the full force of the heat. But even that one at 174, it's already cooked. All right, so this is good, especially if you're planning to cook anything else. You know that your chicken is done. Now notice how I didn't flip it. I left them the way they were from the beginning of the cook to now. It gives you a nice little golden look to it. So next step for me is to actually move some of these pieces around to make room for some of the sausage that I'm going to be doing. But at the same time, while I'm doing this, I'm actually going to stoke the fire again and let it come up a little bit more, because I want it a little bit more darker. But this is pretty much, this is the way it goes. Our chicken is pretty much done. I moved over some of it. I did move over a little bit to make room for the sausage that I'm going to put in, but I have not flipped them. I have not done anything to them. This way you get a nice little presentation of the chicken. And what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to add some of this sausage. Now I started using this type of sausage for a couple of reasons. One, it's the same amount as if you get those U-shaped ones at H-E-B, Walmart, or wherever you buy your groceries. It's the same exact amount. The only thing is that these are already individually cut into sausage. I guess you would call them hot dogs or sausage links. This way it's a lot easier when you're ready to serve to just either give half a sausage or give the full sausage to the person instead of having to cut that U. So just a little trick that I picked up on. It's easier. These are very simple. You just put them on the grill, you let them heat up, and then you take them out. That's about it. Just to recap, you cook chicken up until 165 or higher. I would recommend to hit at least 175 just to be sure. And then after that, just pull them out. Don't touch them, don't do them, set it and forget it. And again, the waiting is the hardest part. Thanks for watching.